How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball, and welcome back to another review of the Premier League, where we go through our predictions as well. We've got a scoring system between me and my brother. It's 201 to Sim, 197 to me. And the way the scoring works is 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result. And the star man, once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. And let's start off at Selhurst Park, which was the early kickoff on the Saturday. Liverpool won by 2-1. I went for 3-0, Sim went for 1-0. Probably closer to your scoreline than it was my scoreline. I was actually fairly impressed with Crystal Palace, with the way they defended, the way they managed themselves through the game. But as Liverpool have done so many times this season, got there in the end.
Yeah, I think in the last 8 games, they've scored in the last 15 minutes in each and every one of them. So goes to show that you can never write Liverpool off, and they keep going right to the end. And also, I think goes to show their depth in the attacking options they have, which is, I think, they're so deep, the amount of options they have to bring off the bench. It was an off day for them, to be honest, on the day. They did struggle to really break Palace down. Palace were really counter-attacking effectively. They had a penalty in the first half, which was overturned after a foul on Endo was given, which I think was the right decision. But then they did have a penalty in the second half, which VAR intervened. I thought, to be honest, it was a harsh intervene. I did think it was a penalty. I think Quansah definitely catches Edouard. But again, is it clear and obvious? Is it something the VAR should be getting involved in? Or is it just one of those where some people think it's a penalty, some think or not, and the VAR decides to intervene? But Palace deservedly took the lead, but then it all changed when Ayew got sent off with 10 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go. Yeah,
Ayew did get sent off, and then I felt like Liverpool did make that dominance pay, and they were wave after wave of attack, and finally they broke them down. I mean, it didn't take long after the sending off. It was literally just a minute for Mo Salah to score with a Jones assist, and then Harvey Elliott gets that goal at the end with a really nice goal with a questionable celebration
from 25 yards. I don't remember the celebration, but he
tried he did this a whole Dragon Ball Z thing where he was like this. It was awful.
A bit cringe. But great goal from him, though. So he has the right to be cringe after scoring that goal from 25 yards. Yeah. And he's actually been made quite an impact after coming off the bench a few times. And with that win, Liverpool go top of the league. Yeah. So showing their title credentials.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I think with Liverpool, there's been a case, I've watched them quite a few times this season, and quite a few times I've been sitting there being like, they don't seem like the greatest team. They don't seem like title winners, title challengers, but they keep getting the results consistently. And when you keep pulling through like that and you keep getting the results, you got to consider them as title challengers.
I think some games haven't been good, but I think some games they've blown teams away as well. And if you look at the stats, I think they're second in the league for goals scored, and they're first for goals conceded. So doing well.
No, they are doing well, 100%. But there's just sometimes they just leave me wanting a little bit more. Not like that Liverpool team of a couple of years ago, which are just relentless every game, attack after attack after attack. I don't see them like that this season. Maybe a different way of playing, I don't know.
Potentially, I still think they're doing really well.
Moving on to Brighton against Burnley, which finished 1-1 at the Amex. A really poor result for Brighton, which compounds to their bad form that they're in at the moment. Sim went 3-1, I went 3-1. But Brighton, man, how could they not get over the line against Burnley at home?
Yeah, they'll be kicking themselves, to be honest. I think Burnley, again, showing a bit more of a resolute side to their season. After earlier in the season we criticised them for being very naive, but definitely in recent weeks they seem to have tightened up a bit, not leaking as many goals as they were at the beginning of the season. And again, this was probably consequent of that Brighton huffing and puffing. Burnley did take the lead quite early on, in the first half, I think it was, and then Adingra equalises late on, and it looked like, for all the world to see, they were pushing for that late winner. But Burnley held strong. And I think Brighton will be kicking themselves with the chances they missed, because they had a host of chances in this game and didn't end up taking any of them. But a really good point for Burnley in their fight for survival. And I think they'll know, given the teams at the bottom, every point is going to count at this juncture. So it was a good point for them. But Brighton, they just can't seem to get that consistency in their game at the moment in terms of results.
Yeah, it seems like all the kind of teams that have been promoted now are starting to get to grips with the season and starting to really improve, and you're starting to see like there's no real weak teams in this league anymore, as maybe we did think in the early stages of the season. So that's a credit to Burnley, but look, at the end of the day, James Trafford, the goalkeeper, was man of the match on the day. So that kind of tells you the story of what did happen at the Amex. But let's move on to Old Trafford. And this was a game which I thoroughly enjoyed watching. It finished 3-0 to Bournemouth on the day. Sim went for 3-1 to Manchester United. I went for 1-1. And I did smell something in the air this weekend. I thought Man United were going to drop points, and they were tragic. They were awful, Manchester United. They got taught a footballing lesson by Bournemouth. They got run ragged pretty much at Old Trafford. And look, that's kind of a performance where you start to question, if what people weren't questioning before, really starting to question the manager. Yes, Bournemouth were on good form, but a team like Man United can't be losing that resoundingly like that at Old Trafford. It's just an absolute joke, to be honest, and serious questions need to be asked of the manager. He went with a questionable decision starting Martial up front. I'm not really sure why he did go that way with Højlund on the bench, but there was a few really standout performances on the day for Bournemouth, but I want to pick out Marcus Tavernier, 2 assists on the day, but not just that. I thought he was absolutely brilliant throughout the whole game, and they did score a fourth at the end, which was ruled out by VAR offside. I can't remember, but it was a handball, but it was a very convincing win for Bournemouth.
Yeah, tragic for Man United at the moment. I think surely this is a result where you start to really doubt whether Ten Hag is the right man going forward, because there's one thing to lose to Bournemouth. If you get battered 3-0, and should have been 4 if it wasn't for that VAR decision, and also it was very drab. There wasn't I know they dominated the game, Man United, in terms of possession, and they were the ones making a lot of the running. After Bournemouth took the lead after 4 minutes, Solanke with a really nice tidy finish, really fast start from Bournemouth. But United kind of took control. It looked like they were going to get back in the game, but they never really created much. They were just huffing and puffing, putting the ball in the box, trying to force situations, but Neto didn't have to make too many saves. I think the closest they came were probably from set pieces. And Bournemouth actually were fairly comfortable, I felt, despite United's dominance. United couldn't really test the Bournemouth defence, and then it's fair to say it probably was against the run of play, but Bournemouth, once they got that second goal, it just drained all the energy and confidence out of Man United. And I can't remember when they got that second goal. It was, 15 minutes to go?
Yeah, around that.
So
second goal came 68th minute,
68. So
and they scored a few minutes later, third,
yeah. After that moment, it was all Bournemouth. Those last 22 minutes, Man United were gone. It was like they gave up after that second goal. And I have to say that last 20 minutes was a bit of a disgrace for Man United.
And you know what? In the last 5 minutes, Bruno Fernandes gets that yellow card, which means he's now suspended for the Liverpool game this weekend, going to Anfield.
Petulant.
And that's not what you want to see from your captain when the game's already lost as well, and you're on one more booking and you're going to be out of their biggest game of the season against Liverpool. I mean, you got to fear the worst for Man United this weekend. They lost 7-0 there last year. What are they going to lose there this year?
He got booked for shouting at the ref as well. It's not like it was a challenge to stop a goal or something. It was a petulant booking. Yeah. Some people accusing him of bottling the Anfield game. Maybe he wants to. Maybe he doesn't want to play.
Well, you know what? A lot of people accused him of bad play in the Anfield game last year when he was just putting his arms about, not showing captain material in that kind of game when the team needs you. And I've seen that quite a few times from Bruno Fernandes, and I'm not sure if he is. I mean, he's a brilliant player. No doubt about it, but is he captain material? Some games you can say yes, but majority of the time you say no.
I wouldn't want him as my captain, that's for sure. But look, touch on Bournemouth quickly. Form team in the league at the moment in the last 5 games. 4 wins, 1 draw, up to 14th now, level on points with Chelsea in 12th, and only 2 points off Fulham in 10th in the top half. So Iraola really turned it around, and look, they played some nice football at times, and they're really well organised. And I've got to say, big up to him, because he's really building something there at the moment.
Yeah, you got to give credit to the board there at Bournemouth, because everyone raised their eyebrows when they sacked Gary O'Neill and they brought in Iraola. It wasn't working at the first, and they were losing every game and looked really bad. But then there was that one game when he got the vote of confidence, something just seemed to click, and since then they've been on a brilliant run of form and just beating everyone in their path at the moment. So, you got to give massive credit to Iraola and the team that he's built there so far. So I think there's more to come from Bournemouth as well this season. So they're a good team to watch. Let's move on to Sheffield United against Brentford. It did finish 1-0 to Sheffield United at Bramall Lane. Me and Sim both went for 1-0 as well. So big fat 5 pointers for both of us in this game. And look, this was an easy one to predict, in my opinion, to be honest. Sheffield United showed some heart in that Liverpool game in midweek, and I think they took the good things from that and harnessed it in a really good way at Bramall Lane this weekend. And it seems as though they're getting a bit of a new manager bounce at the moment, and a really impressive win, and a win that they really needed as well.
Yeah, and I think Brentford, without Mbeumo and without Tony, they're really lacking those weapons up front, and they're a bit blunt. And we know that Sheffield United are under Chris Wilder. They're going to be well organised. They're going to be hard to break down, and they were hard to break down in midweek against Liverpool. That's why they had struggles scoring goals, and that's why they had to wait till the 94th minute to seal the game. And going into this game, knowing that, we know Brentford, by and large, even when they're at their best, they're not a free-flowing football team. They like to play within the space and the transitions. And Sheffield United were always going to restrict them that. But they showed that moment of quality. James McAtee, I think, first goal of the season. He was a player who a lot of Sheffield United fans had a lot of hope for this season. Attacking midfielder on loan from Man City. He apparently had a very good season for them last season, and they took him on loan again. And he's kind of flattered to deceive, but maybe Chris Wilder can give him the shot in the arm that he needs, because he scored a great goal. Cut inside, edge of the box, curled it right into the top corner. So big moment for him, massive moment for Sheffield United as well. And could that be the start of something for them? I know they're still bottom of the league on 8 points, but now only 1 point off Luton, so giving themselves a fighting chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And did he play the old overlapping centre-backs again, the old Chris Wilder?
I'm not sure about that, actually. I didn't watch the full game, but...
interesting to see if he brought that back, because it is a different set of personnel now. But
it looked like four at the back.
Fair. Let's go to Molineux. Wolves against Nottingham Forest. It did finish 1-1. Both of us going for 2-0 to Wolves. I did say actually in the preview, these are the kind of games that Wolves usually like to drop points in, because they're usually like really good against maybe the top teams. But when it comes to maybe the few weaker teams, when they're asked to attack a bit more and be in the ascendancy, they kind of flattered to deceive a bit. And I think that was, again, the same this weekend. 1-1 against a Nottingham Forest team who are getting battered week in, week out at the moment. So Gary O'Neill and Wolves will be very upset, but a good point for Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, probably give Steve Cooper a bit of reprieve. A lot of talk about him leaving his job. I don't think a point will be a result long term where they say, oh, that means he's turning it around. But you've got to start somewhere when you're on a string of losses like they are. And sometimes it just takes a point to start to build that confidence again. But if they do get battered on Friday night against Spurs, and all of a sudden the talk will be there again. So obviously they got to follow it up and they got to build momentum. But they will take a point, definitely. It's a decent point. Wolves, on the other hand, they'll be a bit frustrated. They didn't get all three. It's a game probably they expected to win. But as you say, I think these are the games Wolves usually struggle to break teams down, and these aren't the games that are set up for their strength. So it is a point. It'll be frustrating, but isn't the end of the world.
Yeah. Let's go to the Saturday night game, which was Aston Villa against Arsenal at Villa Park. It finished 1-0 to Villa. Sim went for 2-1 to Villa. I went for 1-1. And look, Sim gets the point here. But I was actually quite disappointed with Aston Villa in this game, to be honest. I felt like they used up so much energy in that Man City game. I think it was almost impossible for them to put in the same amount of effort, and I think that's what kind of told in the game. They were hard to break down, to be honest. They really were. They defended well, but they just couldn't seem to create any chance for love nor money. I thought Arsenal were the team in the ascendancy for the majority of the game. They had much better chances on the day, and they probably should have got a goal, to be honest. I think Arsenal were by far the better team in this game, and I think it was a bit unjust for Villa to take all 3 points, to be honest, but I'm happy with the result.
Yeah, I just think Arsenal were wasteful at the end of the day. They did have chances. You could argue maybe the Havertz goal, should that have stood? I think the referee probably, according to the laws, got it right. It did touch Havertz's hand before he puts it in. A lot of Arsenal fans are complaining. Arteta,
I felt it hit the Villa player's hand before it hit.
It's not. First of all, it hits his top of his arm, which isn't handball. And second of all, it's not relevant if it's accidental, if it's a defender. Unless you think it's purposeful. So if it hits his hand by accident, that doesn't matter. But if it's Havertz's hand by accident and he scores, that does matter. So I think by the laws of the game, it's probably the right decision. Although you got to say Villa's goal was brilliant at the beginning. It was a great goal. It was brilliant. Really
terrible
great team
defending
goal
from Ben White.
Yeah, it's a terrible goal, but great team move. Really quick, fast play. Bailey, Camera, Bailey on the right-hand side, into McGinn, great turn and finish. White should be getting closer to him, but
that was like the only chance they had all game.
I think late in the game they had a few on the counter, a few opportunities, but they didn't really make anything of it. Arsenal definitely were the one pushing, and they definitely were better than Man City were on midweek. Villa definitely seemed a bit energy sapping as well. Jesus had a penalty shout as well, which got a kick by, I think it was Douglas Luiz. I've seen it again. I don't think there's much in it. I think it's, again, Arsenal clutching at straws when it comes to refereeing decisions. But again, that bitter side of Arteta coming out yet again in his post-match interview in the press conference. He's so surprising. Bitter. He's the most bitter sore loser in the Premier League, surely. He has to have that award. He said it's clear and obvious. He said clear and obvious, the decisions. I mean, so bitter, honestly.
Him and Klopp are cut from the same cloth, to be honest. They always come out with the excuses after the game, blaming the rest, blaming this. Ultimately, the only people he has to blame are the guys on his own team, to be honest, because they had the chances to win the game. They didn't take them. Odegaard had a number of presentable chances where he should have put in the back of the net. So I think, like, instead of blaming the ref, you got to blame your own team, because he said his team were brilliant and his team were good, but they didn't score the chances. So I think he's only got his own players to blame.
Yeah, but and also the decisions weren't clear and obvious. So clutching at that is a bit rich, I think.
Yeah. Next up, we're going to go to Everton against Chelsea, which finished 2-0 to Everton at Goodison Park. Sim went 1-0. I also went 1-0, but it was 2-0 to Everton. Didn't see this game, to be honest. I was on the way to Spurs, but it did look like, judging by the stats, 72% possession to Chelsea, and Everton come away with a 2-0 win. That is well and truly diced.
Yeah, I think it's a classic story of Chelsea season. Lots of possession, trying to break teams down. But I think when they come up against aggressive, settled defences like Everton, they struggle to break them down. They have done all season. And it's no surprise to me they looked a bit toothless up front. And it seems like their possession-based game is worrying. And look, when Chelsea come up against teams who have a go at them and open up the space, they seem to have good games, like Liverpool and Man City and Spurs and all these teams. They seem to give them a good game. But when they come up against teams like an Everton or a Forest, or teams who are going to clog up those centros, make it really hard to break them down and be super aggressive, they struggle, and they struggle consistently. And it was a bad loss. Obviously, Doucouré gives them the lead. If you watch it again, terrible defending for the goal as well. Everyone just watching Doucouré just put it in. And then terrible defending for the second goal as well. Dobbin is able to put it in on the edge of the area. And of Chelsea leave the game very frustrated. But look, down into 12th now, which is where they were last season. They're only 3 points off Bournemouth. Sorry, they're 3 points off Palace in 15th. They're level on points with Bournemouth, who are 14th at the moment. A lot of Chelsea fans piling on the pressure on Pochettino at the moment. Not a good time for him at the moment.
It's not a good time for him at all. But I think if they sack him, they're idiots. I've been saying it all season. This is not an overnight fix, this job. It's a long-term project. Poch realises that now, after coming in saying we're a win-now club. I think he's realised what kind of mess he's got himself into, to be honest. And look, it's a very hard job, this Chelsea job. I think anyone would have been crazy to take it. But what do the Chelsea fans want? What direction do they want the club to go in? Are they going to sack Poch? What, bring in Lampard to the end of the season? What's the next step if you sack Poch?
Completely agree. I'm just saying the pressure's going to keep building as the results keep this way. Although what I will say is Chelsea do have a favourable fixture list now. I think they've got Sheffield United at home next, and then they've got I think Luton after that. So they've got some good fixtures for them.
They got teams that suit playing against them. Basically,
100%. You could definitely argue that 100%, and they might struggle, but you could definitely say there's a chance they could go on a good run with their fixtures they got. But he has to start turning it around, because at the moment this is nowhere near good enough. They can't be in 12th position. Well, I don't care if it's a rebuild or whatever. The money they spend, the squad they have, they've got a good team there. They cannot be in 12th. And I think the fans are just going to keep building pressure if they keep playing like this, and it's still like that.
What's the answer then?
I don't know what the answer is. It's tough to put your finger on what the problem is. Look, I think the smart thing to do would be just to write off this season and keep Poch, but I just think the pressure is going to keep mounting. What if they're 15th in a week?
Write off a season, 11th of December.
That's crazy talk. You know, what if in 2 weeks' time they could be 15th, 16th? Then what?
Yeah.
You know, is that acceptable? Like, probably not. So there's going to be a lot of pressure building on Poch as long as results keep sliding.
I think, like, we all know Poch, right? We know Poch very well. And you do feel, I still get the sense of feeling like second half of the season, they will get better. Under, because we all know.
Can't get much worse.
I know it can't get worse, but you know that under Poch, like he goes through these crazy training sessions, especially this first half of the season, double sessions and all that. And their fitness should tell second half of the season, as it did with us quite a number of times. So he was on the verge of getting sacked with Spurs as well, and then he completely turned it around, and we were one of the best teams, if not the best team in the Premier League over a two-year stretch. So I do think Poch will get it right if they give him time. The fans just need to calm down and have a bit of patience. I know it's very difficult at the moment.
Chelsea aren't the most patient bunch.
And that goes for fans and board and everyone involved.
Correct.
Let's move on to Fulham against West Ham. Fulham 5, West Ham 0. Sim went 1-1, so did I. And that's 10 goals in the space of a week, or less than a week for Fulham, in the space of like 4 days. They beat Nottingham Forest midweek 5-0. They beat West Ham 5-0. And they are playing some sublime stuff at the moment, and they absolutely tore West Ham to shreds in this game.
I don't know what Fulham are smoking at the moment, honestly. The way they're just, all of a sudden, they've become goal machines. They couldn't hit a barn door for love nor money for a whole season, and now they're scoring 10 goals in 2 games. I never thought I'd see it, and Jimenez has hit a rich vein of form. We've got Willian on the score sheet. Harry Wilson's banging in goals from 25 yards.
Yeah, what a goal that was.
Unbelievable. So fair play to Fulham. They've really turned it around. They're now in the top half, 21 points. So Marco Silva has really got to grips with this season. I thought it was going to be a long old slog this season without Mitrovic and a few problems. But look, they've got some injuries back. Tosin's back in the team as well. He's made a big difference. And all of a sudden, they've turned things around and they're starting to score goals. But with West Ham, I just read today that I think it was David Ornstein, one of the journalists, saying there's no talk of Moyes' future as of yet, but all of a sudden, there are reports talking about it. They're talking about Moyes' future. Even after one game after beating Spurs, that was that bad, this defeat. There's already rumours of are they losing trust in Moyes, but it was such a damaging defeat, and there was just. This is what Spurs should have done to them, to be honest, on Thursday night, because they put in a similar display. They were just lacking energy, sitting back, waiting for the opposition to come at them, and Fulham took full advantage where Spurs didn't.
You know who's really impressing me for Fulham at the moment is Iwobi. He seems to be, having copious amounts of shots on goal, running things in the middle for Fulham. I mean, he looks really dangerous at the moment, and I think he's been very central to both these 5-0 wins, to be honest. But
new lease of life.
West Ham, on the other hand, they have just been shocking, and I completely agree. We should have done exactly the same to them at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last week. If only we took our chances in the first half, especially, and we would have the same scoreline would have happened, to be honest. But I think Moyes is on his last legs at the moment. I really do.
How can you lose 5-0 to Fulham? That's shocking.
It is shocking. Absolutely shocking. Especially it's one thing Nottingham Forest doing it, but West Ham, different kettle of fish. But let's go to Kenilworth Road as Man City beat Luton by 2-1. But a long old slog for Man City. Both of us went for 2-0. But Luton did take the lead. Just before half-time with Adebayo, Andros Townsend assist, a brilliant assist by Andros Townsend, rolling back the ears, to be honest. And I thought Andros looked all right in the first half when I was watching it. He had a shot from about 25, 30 yards, as he does very regularly as well. But look, Man City, they did really well because it was a really hard game for them. That small pitch, Luton made it very compact, as they have done all season at Kenilworth Road. But 2 goals in the space of 3 minutes or something it was from Bernardo Silva and Jack Grealish, really good goals at that. And Man City just about got over the line.
Yeah, and I think Luton have done what they've done to a lot of good teams this season, just make it very difficult, clog up the back line, sit very deep, make it very hard to break down, be aggressive. And Man City, they had their opportunities, but once you miss a few big ones, it's hard to make sure you're continuing to make those opportunities. And in that first half, that's exactly what happened. They missed a couple early on, and then it's a bit similar to Spurs. Missed a couple up early on, then all of a sudden the chances dried up. Difference between Spurs and City is Spurs didn't concede just before half time, and it was a great goal from Luton on the counter attack. Really good header at the back post as well, and all of a sudden looked like maybe a shock on the cards. But as you say, Man City, with the quality they have, they can turn a game in an instant, and that's exactly what they did. 2 goals in a minute, 2 goals in 2 minutes, bam, you're 2-1 down. And after that, Luton never really threatened to get back in the game. But what a goal by Bernardo Silva. First time, sweeps it into the far corner. Absolutely astonishing goal from him. And that moment of the game, that's a goal worthy of winning any game. So brilliant stuff from him. And Man City, look, got the job done in the end, even without Haaland.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't know how long he's out for, but it will be a big miss in the long term if he is out long term for Man City. Imagine, you're decimated without De Bruyne and Haaland, but we've seen Man City get through those periods before and still win the league. But they are quite a few points behind top of the league at the moment, aren't they? What is it?
4 points.
Oh, is it 4? I thought it was 6.
4.
It's only 4.
4.
Oh, fair enough. Still very tight at the top, isn't it? And last but not least, Tottenham 4, Newcastle 1. Sim went 2-1. I went 3-1, but it actually was 4-1. And this was one-way traffic at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. An absolute battering for Newcastle and against Newcastle. And this result has been coming for a few weeks for Tottenham, to be honest. We dominated against Aston Villa, should have got the win. Dominated against West Ham, should have got the win. And it felt like we just got it completely spot on in this game with the tactics deployed, the personnel deployed, and the kind of energy on the pitch as well. So it was a perfect day for Tottenham.
Yeah, this result was definitely come for Spurs. Really, probably performance of the season for them. I thought it was an astonishing attacking display pretty much from early in the game. We just took Newcastle to the sword, and Newcastle had no response. They definitely looked out on their feet with all the injuries they got and players overplaying. Last 10 games or so, 5 games, they've been playing every single minute, so it's been tough for them. But Spurs took full advantage. Newcastle definitely looked tired, but Spurs with Sarr back in the team, Kulusevski in the attacking midfield, Son back out wide, and Richarlison up front looked absolutely dynamite. And Son gave Trippier an absolute torrid time on the left-hand side, bagged himself 2 assists. Richarlison, post-surgery, got a couple of goals as well. He looks like he's set to go, got a new lease of life about him. And it was just what the doctor ordered for Spurs after a frustrating past 5 games where they've played well, but no luck when it comes to result and things going against them. That's exactly what they needed, and it was a great performance and a great result, and puts them back firmly in that top 5.
Yeah, on another day as well, like Spurs probably could have scored double the amount of goals that they did score yesterday. And, it's been a big problem over the past 2-3 weeks about not being clinical enough. And I think we got better in that aspect, but I still want more out of this team in terms of how clinical they can be, because we literally could have scored about 8 or more past them yesterday.
Definitely.
But let's move on to the star man. Sim went for Garnacho, who drew a blank at home to Bournemouth. I went for Matthias Cunha, who got the opening goal for Wolves this weekend. So I get a 5-pointer here. And quite amazingly so, we finish off on exactly level points once again. 211 to 211. But let me know your thoughts regarding all the talking points of the Premier League over the weekend. And we'll see you next time.